Hello. Welcome. As you are aware, in this series we are covering PM Body of Knowledge, 6th edition. And now we are going to start. Chapter 1, Introduction. Without any delay, let's get started.
Have you ever found yourself looking at something truly through any jargon, clarify the core ideas, and get to the most important nuggets of insight? By the end of this deep dive, you won't just understand what project management is, you'll also grasp why it's so incredibly powerful, using examples you can instantly see and relate to in your everyday Indian life. You've brought us some fantastic sources for this deep dive, and we're here to guide you through them, pulling out those aha moments that will shift your perspective.
Hopefully quite a few aha moments.
And to help us navigate this fascinating world, I'm joined by our expert guide, who consistently brings that calm, insightful voice of reason to make sense of even the densest material.
Happy to be here and dive in.
Okay, let's unpack this core concept then. When we look through the material, one definition popped right out. At its heart, a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. Now it sounds a bit formal, right? Let's just break that down into something much simpler.
It definitely sounds formal, yeah, but the beauty is how universal this definition truly is once you understand its parts. When we say temporary, it doesn't mean it has to be short, like a few weeks.
Right, not just short.
No, it simply means it has a definite beginning and a definite end. Think about the construction of a new metro line in your city.
Okay, yeah, big project.
Huge project. It has a clear start date, say, when the first groundbreaking ceremony happens, and a planned completion date. Even if that completion date is years in the future, the project to build that metro line will absolutely end.
Got it.
Or consider something very common across India, planning a family wedding.
Oh yeah, definitely a project.
Absolutely. It has a clear start, perhaps with the engagement ceremony, and a very definite end, the wedding ceremony itself. The event might only last a day or two, but the project to plan and execute it could go on for months, maybe even longer. It's finite. It ends.
So why does it end? Is it always just because you finished?
That's the most obvious reason, yeah. Our sources point to several reasons, actually. The main one is when the project's objectives have been achieved, the metro line is built and running, the wedding is successfully done, the new software is launched.
Makes sense.
But a project can also end if the objectives simply cannot be met. Perhaps due to, I don't know, unforeseen challenges, or if the funding gets exhausted or becomes unavailable, stopping the project midway.
Okay, so it doesn't always end happily?
Not always. Sometimes the original need for the project no longer exists. Maybe a customer changes their mind, or a new technology emerges, making the project obsolete, or, a change in government policy might end a planned initiative.
Right.
Human or physical resources might become unavailable, or the project might be terminated for legal reasons too. The crucial nuance here, though, and this is important, is that while the project itself is temporary...
The thing you do is temporary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Its deliverables, what it creates, can last for a very, very long time, even centuries, long beyond the project's temporary nature.
Okay, like the Taj Mahal example.
Precisely. Think back to the Taj Mahal you mentioned. Its construction was a massive project, temporary in nature, with a beginning and an end for its builders. But the monument itself has stood for hundreds of years, a testament to that temporary effort, and we expect it to stand for many more. So the outcome often outlives the effort.
That makes perfect sense. So the project is the journey, the temporary effort, and the deliverable is the destination, the thing that lasts. But what about the other key word there? Unique. If a builder constructs, say, 100 houses, Are they all considered the same project? Or are they unique in some way?
That's a great question, and it really gets to the heart of what unique means in project management. Even if elements are repetitive, for example, a builder might construct similar apartment buildings across different cities using the same materials or blueprints.
Yeah, they look the same.
They might look very similar, but each specific apartment complex project is still considered unique. Why? Because of its specific location, the local regulations in that city, the particular set of customers it's being built for, and the specific challenges that inevitably arise on that construction site, maybe unexpected soil conditions or a labor shortage in that particular region.
Right.
No two projects are ever truly identical, even if they're very similar. Or consider a school's annual sports day.
Happens every year.
Right, you might have one every year, and many activities like the 100-meter race or the opening ceremony are repeated. But each year, it's unique because of the specific students participating, the unique theme chosen for that year, the new challenges that pop up like a sudden downpour ruining the track just before the event.
Always happen.
Doesn't it? And the specific goals for that particular year's event might be slightly different. It's never truly a copy-paste job. Each iteration has its own distinct flavor and challenges.
So a project can produce a unique product, a unique service, or a unique result. Could you give us a quick example for each type, maybe with that Indian flavor you mentioned?
Certainly. A unique product could be something like a new mobile app specifically designed for local street vendors, maybe helping them manage their sales and inventory, making their lives a bit easier.
Okay, cool.
Or perhaps a correction to a specific defect in an existing software that a large Indian bank uses. That fix is a unique product.
Right.
A unique service might involve setting up a new door-to-door recycling and waste collection service in a residential colony, a service that didn't exist before in that specific way.
Yeah, very needed sometimes.
Absolutely. And a unique result could be something like a research project studying traffic patterns in a city like Bangalore to develop a new, more efficient signal system to ease congestion. The research findings and the proposed system are the unique result.
Got it.
Sometimes a project delivers a combination, like the software for a new online banking system, plus its user manual and the training materials for the customer support team, all part of one comprehensive project delivering multiple unique things.
Okay.
What's truly fascinating here, and a core insight from the sources, is that projects are fundamentally about driving change.
Driving change. How so?
Well, they are the deliberate vehicles that move an organization, a community, or even an individual from a current state to a desired future state to achieve a specific objective.
Okay, like moving from A to B.
Exactly. Imagine your school currently has old classrooms with outdated blackboards and maybe uncomfortable seating. That's the current state.
Yeah.
Right. A project to build new, smart classrooms with digital whiteboards, ergonomic chairs, and modern learning tools moves the school to a future state of better learning facilities. That's the core idea. Projects are how we bridge the gap between what is and what could be, making planned, deliberate improvements. Without projects, nothing truly new or transformative ever really happens. Things just stay the same.
That's a really powerful way to look at it. So when you pick up the newspaper and read about a new flyover being built, or hear a friend talk excitedly about organizing a big charity event, or even when you start planning your own major school project, you're now seeing them as projects. Temporary, unique efforts designed to create something new and drive change. It's like having a new lens through which to view the world, suddenly seeing the organized effort behind so many things around us.
Precisely. You start seeing projects everywhere.
Okay, so now that we've really understood what a project is, temporary and unique, let's explore why they begin in the first place. What's that initial spark that ignites such an undertaking? It turns out our sources point to some fascinating common reasons, falling into 4 fundamental categories, which really help us understand the context behind any project.
Projects certainly don't just appear out of thin air, as you said. They're initiated in response to specific needs or opportunities. You can think of these as the push factors that make them necessary, or the pull factors that make them desirable.
Push and pull. Okay.
Yeah. The first category is meeting regulatory, legal, or social requirements. Often, a new law, a government regulation, or maybe a pressing societal need mandates a project.
So you have to do it.
Often, yes. For instance, imagine a new government regulation about waste segregation for housing societies is passed. This is an optional right. It directly triggers a project within your residential complex to buy new bins for different waste types, maybe set up a composting facility, and definitely educate residents on proper disposal methods.
Right, seen that happen.
Or consider a local NGO starting a project to provide potable water systems in a rural village due to a clear, urgent social need for clean drinking water. That project is driven directly by a fundamental societal requirement for basic health and sanitation. It's about compliance or addressing fundamental human needs.
That makes perfect sense. So sometimes you're not just creating something new because you want to, but you're required to create something new or change something you're doing. But what about when someone simply asks for something, like a customer?
That leads us perfectly to the second category, satisfying stakeholder requests or needs. A stakeholder is simply any group of people who are invested in or affected by the project.
Okay.
When a key group, like customers, employees, or a community, asks for something specific, that can become the spark. Imagine the Resident Welfare Association, RWA, that's the group of residents managing your housing complex.
Yeah, the RWA.
If they request a new children's park, or maybe improved security gates because residents feel unsafe, that direct request from the community becomes the immediate driver for a project to either build the park or upgrade the security.
Okay, makes sense. The residents asked for it.
Exactly. Or if you're a tech company, a large client might specifically ask you to build a custom software solution for their unique business needs. That client request directly initiates a new project for your company. Here, the pull factor is clear demand from someone important.
Got it. So regulations or requests, what else?
The third category is implementing or changing business or technological strategies. This is when a company or organization decides to shift its direction, maybe enter a new market, or adopt new technology to stay competitive, grow, or simply operate more effectively.
Okay, thinking strategically.
Precisely. For example, consider a traditional textile shop owner in Jaipur, famous for their beautiful block prints. They might decide that to truly reach a global market, they need to implement an online selling strategy.
Right, go online.
This strategic decision leads directly to a project to build an e-commerce website, set up digital payment gateways, maybe figure out packaging, and establish a whole new logistics system for international shipping.
Big change.
Huge change, driven by strategy. Similarly, a bank might decide to integrate artificial intelligence AI into its customer service for faster, more personalized responses. That strategic shift creates a whole new project aimed at enhancing their overall business model and customer experience.
So it's about evolving and adapting to the market or technology. And the fourth category, what's that about?
And finally, the fourth category is creating, improving, or fixing products, processes, or services. This is about directly enhancing what an organization offers or how it operates day to day.
Making things better.
Exactly. A popular street food vendor, maybe someone selling amazing chat, might decide to introduce a new, unique fusion dish, perhaps a spicy potato roll with a secret sauce to attract more customers. That's a project to create a new product. Or a factory might implement a Lean Six Sigma project, which is a structured, almost detective-like approach to find and remove waste and make things much more efficient in its manufacturing process. This project aims to improve an existing process, making it faster, cheaper, or ensuring higher quality. It's about continuous improvement.
That's incredibly clear. 4 main drivers: rules, requests, strategy, and improvement. So what's the ultimate goal across all these reasons? Our sources talk about business value creation. What does that actually mean in terms you and I can really grasp? Not just for big businesses.
Good question. Business value essentially means the net benefit you get from something you undertake, the positive impact it creates. And it's not just for businesses, it applies to any organization, even communities or individuals.
Right.
This benefit can be tangible, something you can touch or count, like money, new tools or equipment, maybe increased market share for a company, or say more funds raised for a charity.
Things you can measure easily.
Right. Or it can be intangible, something you can't easily touch or count, but is still very valuable, like a better reputation, increased brand recognition for a company, greater community spirit, or a significant public benefit like cleaner air or safer streets.
Okay. So value isn't just money.
Not at all. Let's go back to that new mobile app for street vendors. The tangible value for the vendors is clear: increased sales and higher profits they can count. But for the app developer, The intangible value could be the widespread brand recognition they gain in the market, or maybe the immense goodwill they receive from the community for helping local businesses thrive. Both types of value are critical motivations for starting projects, and ultimately, a project exists to deliver this value.
So you can apply this lens to almost anything. Next time you hear about a new government scheme being launched or a local business launching something new, you can ask yourself, which of these 4 reasons might have been the primary spark behind that project? It really helps you understand the why behind the what.
Exactly. It gives you that context.
Okay, we understand what a project is temporary, unique, and why it starts rules, requests, strategy, improvement, all for value. But here's the big question for me. Why can't we just wing it? Why do we need this whole discipline called project management? It sounds like a lot of rules and perhaps even bureaucracy. I mean, what's the worst that could happen if you don't manage a project?
That's a perfectly fair question, and it's one of the most important insights our sources highlight. The very real dangers of poorly managed projects, or worse, the complete absence of project management. It's like trying to cook a really complicated meal, say an elaborate biryani for 50 guests.
Look at big task.
Huge task. And trying to do it without a recipe, without a detailed shopping list, without clear roles for who's doing what, or without a timer. You might end up with something, maybe.
Edible.
Maybe, but it's highly unlikely to be what you intended, and it could easily be a complete disaster. Burnt rice, uncooked chicken, missing ingredients, chaos.
Right, I see the analogy. So what are the real-world consequences?
The consequences of winging it are often severe and far-reaching in projects. You end up with missed deadlines. Imagine your school's annual function starting an hour late because nothing was coordinated. The sound system wasn't ready, the dancers were missing their costumes, and the chief guest was stuck waiting. It's embarrassing and unprofessional.
Definitely seen that happen.
Or cost overruns. Think about the community park construction that was supposed to cost, say, 50 lakhs. Suddenly ends up costing 1 crore because materials were wasted, labor wasn't managed efficiently, and nobody tracked the expenses properly.
Ouch. Double the cost.
Yeah. Then there's poor quality. Perhaps the new software for that local vendor app keeps crashing or is full of bugs, making it totally useless for the vendors it was supposed to help.
Frustrating.
Very. This often leads to rework having to do things again because they weren't done right the first time, which wastes even more time and money. It's incredibly inefficient.
So you're doing the same work twice.
Exactly. Beyond that, you can have uncontrolled expansion of the project, often called scope creep, where it just keeps growing and adding new things without any limits, becoming impossible to finish on time or budget.
Scope creep. Okay.
This can lead to a loss of reputation for the organization. If a company promised a new bridge by a certain date but failed miserably, people won't trust them with future projects, and their brand image suffers badly.
Right. Trust is gone.
And of course, maybe the worst outcome. Unsatisfied stakeholders, meaning everyone involved, from the residents waiting for the park to the workers building it, is unhappy, frustrated, and feels let down.
Yeah, nobody's happy.
Ultimately, there's a high risk of failure to achieve the objectives for which the project was undertaken in the first place, meaning all that effort, time, and money were essentially wasted. It's truly a recipe for chaos and disappointment.
So it's really not just about getting things done, but getting them done well, avoiding all those pitfalls. Here's where it gets really interesting. When done well, project management is incredibly powerful. What are the superpowers it gives an organization or a team? How does it turn that potential chaos into something productive?
Yeah, superpowers is a good way to think about it. When you apply project management effectively, it provides a clear roadmap and a set of tools to navigate complexity, giving organizations crucial advantages. First, and maybe most importantly, it directly helps an organization meet its business objectives by ensuring the project actually delivers what it's set out to do, the right product, service, or result that generates that value we talked about.
Okay, hitting the target.
Exactly. Second, it's about satisfying stakeholder expectations, which means keeping everyone involved and affected, from the customers to the workers to the community, reasonably happy with the outcome and the process. When people feel heard, informed, and see progress, they're much more engaged and supportive.
Keeping everyone in the loop.
Right. Third, it makes things much more predictable, significantly increasing the chances of success. You gain a much better idea of when things will likely finish, how much they'll probably cost, and what level of quality to expect. This predictability is huge.
Less guessing.
Way less guessing. This also helps in delivering the right products at the right time, meaning you give people what they need ideally when they need it, whether it's a new feature on an app or a new school wing opening before the academic year starts.
Okay.
Fourth, it provides a structured way to resolve problems and issues that inevitably pop up. Stuff always goes wrong in projects, right?
Always.
Instead of panicking when a challenge hits, you have a process for how to approach it systematically, analyze it, and find solutions. Fifth, it helps you respond to risks in a timely manner. You actually think ahead about potential problems like, what if a key supplier goes bankrupt? Or what if a heavy monsoon delays construction of a building?
Thinking ahead.
Exactly. And you have a backup plan or a way to mitigate that risk before it potentially happens, rather than just reacting when it hits.
Makes sense. What else?
Moreover, effective project management helps optimize the use of organizational resources. That means making the best use of money, people, and materials, especially when budgets are tight, which they usually are.
Always tight. Like managing a limited budget for your school trip, right? Good planning ensures everyone can participate, and you get the most out of the experience without overspending.
Perfect example. It also enables you to manage constraints, which means balancing competing demands like scope, what's included, quality, how good it is, schedule when it's due, costs, how much it costs, and resources, who and what you have available. All these are constantly pulling in different directions.
A balancing act.
A constant balancing act, and project management provides the framework to manage that tension effectively. Finally, it helps you manage change better, being able to adapt when requirements inevitably shift or new information comes to light without completely derailing the entire effort. Change happens, you need a way to handle it.
So it sounds like project management isn't just about getting one specific thing done, like one project. It seems like it helps an entire organization thrive and adapt. Our sources call it a strategic competency. What does that really mean in the bigger picture?
Absolutely, that's a key takeaway. When an organization truly embraces effective and efficient project management, it elevates it beyond just a set of tools. It becomes a strategic competency.
A core strength.
Exactly. A core strength that allows the organization to tie project results directly to bigger business goals. It helps them compete more effectively in their markets by consistently delivering value, innovating faster, and adapting to changes more smoothly.
Okay.
In essence, it's about making sure that all the projects undertaken are not just completed efficiently, but that they are the right projects, strategically aligned, consistently moving the organization towards its overall vision and strategic direction. In today's dynamic business environment, with tighter budgets, shorter timelines, and rapidly changing technology.
It's moving so fast.
So fast. Companies that excel at project management are simply much better positioned to consistently deliver business value and remain competitive, even survive. It's like building a robust, adaptable engine that can reliably propel the organization forward, no matter the terrain.
I can totally see that. Think about a time you tried to organize something, maybe a big group project at school, or even planning a simple picnic with friends. What worked well? What fell apart? You were experiencing project management or the crucial lack of it firsthand. It's clear that it brings order to what could otherwise be complete chaos, even on a small scale.
Absolutely. Those principles apply everywhere.
Project management is clearly powerful, a real game changer for getting things done. Right. But I'm curious, does this superpower work alone? Or is it part of a larger team, a bigger picture? Our sources hint at bigger structures like programs and portfolios that often interact with projects. How do individual projects fit into that grander strategic vision?
You're absolutely right. It's definitely a team effort, and individual projects rarely exist in total isolation within a large organization or even a community initiative. They're usually part of a broader, more strategic structure. Let's talk about programs first.
Okay, programs.
A program is like a bigger umbrella for a group of related projects, and sometimes even smaller subsidiary programs, along with other activities. The key is that these are all managed together in a coordinated manner to achieve a larger benefit that you couldn't get by managing them individually.
So related projects grouped together.
Exactly. And our sources are very clear on this. Programs are not large projects. This is a key distinction. A program isn't just one massive project, it's a collection managed for synergy.
Got it. Can you give an example?
Sure, let's use an Indian context example. Imagine the government decides to build a new international airport on the outskirts of a major city, like, say, Navi Mumbai or Juar near Delhi.
Huge undertaking.
Massive. This isn't just one single giant project. It would actually be managed as a program. This program would include multiple interconnected projects.
Like what?
Well, you'd have one distinct project for designing and constructing the runways, another project for building the elaborate terminal building itself, a third project for creating the access roads, maybe metro links and flyovers leading to the airport, and a fourth project for setting up the sophisticated air traffic control system.
Okay, all separate but linked.
Exactly. All these projects are related, they depend on each other for the airport to function, and they are managed together as a program to deliver the overall airport, which is the bigger, overarching benefit. The program management focuses specifically on managing the interdependencies between these projects, making sure the roads are ready when the terminal opens, for instance, and ensuring the overall benefits of having a new airport are realized, rather than just focusing on finishing each piece separately. It's about that synergy, the whole being greater than the sum of its parts.
That distinction makes perfect sense. A program coordinates related projects for a common goal. But what's a portfolio then? Is it like a collection of different programs or something even bigger than that?
Precisely. A portfolio is an even higher level, taking an overarching strategic view of things. It's a collection of projects, programs, subsidiary portfolios, and even ongoing daily operations, all managed as a group to achieve an organization's strategic objectives.
Okay, so this includes operations too.
Yes, it can. And the key here, this is a crucial difference from programs, is that the components in portfolio don't necessarily have to be related or interdependent. They just need to align with the organization's overarching strategy.
Not necessarily related.
Okay.
Example.
Think of a large, diversified Indian conglomerate like a Tata Group or Reliance Industries. They operate in many different sectors, right?
Right. Everything from salt to software or oil to telecom.
Exactly. They might have a grand strategic objective, like maximizing returns across all their investments or leading digital transformation in India. Their portfolio could include a whole mix of things.
It's like
Maybe a program to develop a new 5G network, which itself has multiple projects within it, like building towers and developing core software. Then maybe a separate program to build a chain of new hospitals across the country. Then perhaps a standalone project to launch a new line of electric vehicles. And importantly, it also includes their ongoing daily operations like running their existing retail stores or manufacturing facilities.
wow, that's a lot.
It is. The portfolio manager's job is to look across this entire collection and ensure that all these diverse components, projects, programs, operations are aligned with the company's strategic goals and are prioritized correctly. They might decide, for example, to allocate more resources to the 5G program because it aligns most closely with their digital transformation strategy, and perhaps delay or scale back the electric vehicle project if market conditions shift or it doesn't offer the same strategic return. It's about managing the whole collection for strategic success.
I love how the sources put it. This distinction is great. Program and project management focus on doing programs and projects the right way, meaning efficiently.
Execution focus.
While portfolio management focuses on doing the right programs and projects, meaning choosing wisely. That sounds like a powerful psychological insight about decision-making at different levels. Can you elaborate on that?
This is a truly key insight, and it's all about alignment and strategic choice. At the project level, and even the program level, the focus is predominantly on execution efficiency. It's about doing things right.
Building the car well.
Exactly. Building the car well, constructing the airport efficiently, running the school annual day smoothly without hiccups. You're ensuring the specific endeavor is completed effectively, hopefully on time, within budget, delivering its intended output. It's about operational excellence within a defined scope. But at the portfolio level, the focus shifts fundamentally to doing the right things. This means making those tough strategic choices about which projects and programs to even undertake in the first place.
Should we even build a car?
Precisely. You're constantly asking, given our overall strategic goals, our limited resources, time, money, people, is building this specific car the best use of our energy and money right now? Or should we instead invest in, say, a new software company or perhaps a renewable energy project because that aligns better with our long-term vision?
Right, making those big bets.
It's about evaluating all the potential initiatives against the grand vision and prioritizing those that offer the most strategic value and align most closely with the organization's core purpose. It ensures that your efforts are not just effective in execution, but that they are also directed towards the most impactful objectives for the entire organization. It's about making sure the whole orchestra is playing the right symphony, the one the audience wants to hear, not just playing their individual notes perfectly well, but maybe playing the wrong piece altogether.
That makes the distinction crystal clear. Strategy versus execution. And what about operations? How does that fit into this big picture with projects, programs, and portfolios? We all experience operations every day, right? Like the bus is running.
Exactly. Operations management is fundamentally about the ongoing production of goods and services, the day-to-day work that keeps a business running consistently and efficiently. It's about maintaining the status quo and meeting customer demands regularly.
The daily grind, maybe.
In a way, yeah. Think of the daily operations of a local bus service running its routes on schedule, picking up and dropping off passengers every single day. Or a restaurant serving food every day, preparing meals, managing tables, cleaning up. These are repetitive, ongoing activities designed to sustain the business, not temporary endeavors aiming to create something unique.
Okay.
Now, while operations are ongoing, projects often intersect with them. A project might be undertaken specifically to change or improve operations.
Oh, okay.
For instance, that bus service might undertake a project to introduce a new digital ticketing system using QR codes, aiming to improve their efficiency and customer experience. That's a project impacting operations. Or a restaurant might launch a project to automate a part of its kitchen, like installing a robotic arm for chopping vegetables to reduce costs or improve consistency. So projects often act as catalysts for change within ongoing operations.
Okay.
And importantly, at the end of a project that creates something new, like a new product or service, that deliverable then often becomes part of the organization's ongoing operations. For example, after the project to build that new mobile app for street vendors is complete and launched.
The project ends.
The project ends, but the daily use, maintenance, customer support, and updates for that app become part of the organization's ongoing operation.
Okay, that connection is clear now.
Ultimately, all these pieces, portfolios, programs, projects, and operations ideally come together under something called Organizational Project Management, OPM.
OPM. Okay, another acronym.
Yes, but an important one. It's a comprehensive framework that helps ensure an organization undertakes the right projects and programs, that's the portfolio link, allocates critical resources appropriately across all its initiatives, linking strategy to resources, and ensures everyone understands and is aligned with the big strategic vision.
So it connects everything.
It tries to. Think of OPM as the conductor of that grand orchestra we talked about, making sure every instrument, from the tiniest flute representing a small project to the booming drums, maybe a big, complex program, plays in harmony to create the organization's strategic masterpiece. It's about aligning everything you do, temporary projects and ongoing operations, with your overarching goals and ensuring you're truly moving forward effectively as an entire entity.
All right, we've covered the what of a project, the why it starts, and the big picture ecosystem programs, portfolios, operations, all orchestrated by OPM. Now let's get down to the how. How do these projects actually work on a day-to-day basis? Our sources talk about life cycles, phases, processes, and even knowledge areas. Let's make this actionable and see the nuts and bolts.
Exactly. Let's get practical. Every project, no matter its size or complexity, goes through a journey, what we call a project life cycle. From its beginning to its end. It's the basic framework, the sequence of phases that guides the entire effort. Think of it like a student's entire academic journey, From the day of admission, through years of study, exams, maybe internships, all the way to the day of graduation, there are distinct stages you go through.
Okay, a journey with stages.
Right. Now, within this overarching project lifecycle, there are different ways to approach the actual development of the product, service, or result that the project is creating. Our sources highlight a few key types of development life cycles.
Okay.
The first is a predictive life cycle, often casually called waterfall. Here, you try to know almost everything up front. The entire scope, the timeline, and the cost are determined and fixed as much as possible very early in the project.
Plan everything first.
Pretty much. It's like building a traditional house where the entire detailed blueprint is complete and approved before construction even starts. Any changes later on are usually carefully managed because they can be quite costly and disruptive to the plan. You follow the plan step by step, sequentially.
Makes sense for building houses.
It often does, yeah. Then there are adaptive life cycles, also popularly known as agile or change-driven. These are used when things are highly uncertain, maybe the requirements aren't fully known, or they're expected to change, and you kind of learn and adapt as you go, with flexibility built right in.
Agile, okay. Heard that term.
Yeah, it's very common now, especially in software. You define the details right before you start a small chunk of work, often called an iteration or a sprint, and then you adapt based on feedback. This is really useful for developing something new and innovative. like a new mobile app where user feedback constantly shapes the next features. You build a small piece, maybe just one feature, get feedback from actual users, and then decide what to build or change next.
So more flexible.
Much more flexible. It allows for rapid adaptation and quick responses to changing requirements or market needs. Our sources also mention iterative and incremental life cycles, which are variations, iterative repeat cycles of development to refine things, while incremental adds functionality in small, usable chunks.
Okay.
Finally, there are hybrid life cycles, which, as the name suggests, are a mix of both predictive and adaptive approaches. It's not always one or the other.
Best of both worlds, maybe.
Hopefully. It's really about tailoring the best approach for your unique project and its specific circumstances. For example, if you're building a new hardware device, like a smartphone, the physical design and manufacturing might follow a more predictive model because you need to finalize the circuit board and casing before mass production.
Right, you can't easily change hardware.
Exactly. But the software that runs on that device might follow an adaptive or agile approach as you iterate on features and fix bugs based on user testing, even after the hardware is locked down. The project management team has to determine the best lifecycle approach or mix of approaches, being flexible enough to adapt to various factors like the project's clarity, complexity, stability of requirements, and specific needs.
That helps visualize the big journey and the different ways to travel it. So within this journey, you mentioned phases. Are these like chapters in a book, each with a clear start and end?
Exactly. That's a perfect analogy. A project phase is a collection of logically related project activities that culminates in the completion of one or more specific deliverables. They are precisely like distinct chapters in the project's story or significant milestones along that journey. Each phase typically has a specific name, a planned duration, defined resource needs, and clear entrance criteria, what needs to be ready to start the phase, and exit criteria, what needs to be completed to finish the phase. For instance, let's take our school annual day project again. The phases might look something like this.
Okay, let's hear the chapters.
Chapter 1, Concept and Approval Phase. This is where you brainstorm themes, decide on the overall type of performances, maybe estimate a rough budget, and crucially, get the principal's official go-ahead. The key deliverable here might be an approved theme, a preliminary budget, and a signed concept note.
Got it. Phase 1 done.
Chapter 2, Planning and Rehearsals Phase. Here, you get into the details. You decide on specific acts, create a detailed schedule for rehearsals and the event itself, organize and conduct practices for dances and skits, design and procure costumes, book the venue, arrange for sound and lighting. Lots happens here. Deliverables include finalized schedules, costume designs, venue contracts, etc.
The busy phase.
Often the busiest. Chapter 3, Event Day Phase. This is the big day itself, the actual performance, managing the audience flow, coordinating backstage activities, handling any last-minute issues, and ensuring everything runs as smoothly as possible. The main deliverable is the successful execution of the annual day function.
Showtime.
Chapter 4, Post-Event Wrap-Up Phase. The show's over, but the project isn't quite done. After the event, you need to clear up the venue, return any rented equipment and costumes, settle all the bills and accounts, maybe have a debrief meeting, and importantly, collect feedback from students, teachers, and parents for next year. Deliverables here might include final financial reports and a feedback summary or lessons learned document.
Okay, clear chapters. But you mentioned something about phase gates. What are those?
Yes, phase gates. These are really important. At the end of each phase, there's usually a crucial checkpoint called a phase gate, or sometimes a stage gate, or kill point.
Kill point sounds serious.
It can be. This is where you deliberately pause, review the progress made in the phase just completed against the original plans, check the quality of the deliverables produced, look at the risks going forward, and make a formal gonna-go decision about whether to proceed to the next phase.
The decision point.
A critical decision point. It ensures you don't just blindly keep going if things are seriously off track, if the business case is no longer valid, or if the quality isn't good enough. For our school annual day example, before moving from the planning and rehearsals phase to the event day phase, you'd have a phase gate review.
Okay.
The principal, key teachers, and maybe student coordinators would meet. They'd check. Are all the acts sufficiently rehearsed? Are the costumes ready and do they fit? Is the venue booked and prepared? Are all necessary permissions in place?
Checking everything.
Everything critical. If the answer is yes to all key questions, they give the go decision. If not, they might decide to remain in the phase, meaning allocate more time for rehearsals or to finish preparations. Or, in extreme cases, if things are going really badly, Maybe major funding fell through, or half the performers are sick. They might even make the tough call to end the project, meaning cancel or postpone the event. It's a formal control point to ensure the project stays on track and continues to be viable and valuable before committing resources to the next phase.
That makes a lot of sense. So we have the journey, life cycle, and the chapters, phases with checkpoints, phase gates. But how do we do all this work within those phases? Our sources talk about processes. What exactly are those in simple terms? Like, what are the actual steps?
Right. A project management process is simply a systematic series of activities designed to achieve a specific result. It's like a clear formula or a recipe for getting specific things done efficiently and consistently.
Okay, recipe.
Exactly. You take inputs, what you have to start with, information, documents, materials. You apply tools and techniques, specific methods or skills you use to work on those inputs, and you get outputs, the results or deliverables you produce from that process.
Inputs, tools and techniques, outputs.
Right.
Like making biryani.
Perfect analogy. For making a delicious biryani, the raw ingredients, rice, chicken or vegetables, spices, onions, yogurt, are your inputs.
Mm-hmm.
Chopping the vegetables, marinating the chicken, frying the onions, layering everything carefully in the pot, and slow cooking it, the dum process. Those are your tools and techniques.
Right, the actions.
And the delicious, aromatic biryani steaming in the pot at the end is your output.
Project management involves many such systematic processes for things like creating a schedule, estimating costs, identifying risks, communicating with people, and so on.
Okay, lots of recipes. How do we keep track? That's where process groups come in. To make sense of these numerous individual processes, they are logically grouped into 5 overarching process groups. These essentially describe the flow of work, the major stages of management effort in nearly any project. And it's important to remember, these are not the same as project phases.
They're not phases, okay. What are they?
They are collections of processes that often overlap and can repeat throughout the project's life, especially across different phases. The 5 groups are:
Okay, number 1.
1. Initiating process group. This is where you define the new project or a new phase of an existing project and obtain the formal authorization to start it. It's about getting the official green light and setting the initial vision and boundaries. For our community center example, this is like the RWA deciding, okay, we really want to build this community center. We've assessed the need, and we've got the general body's formal approval and maybe some initial seed funding to officially start exploring this. You define what the project broadly is and why it's worth doing, maybe appointing the initial project manager.
Okay, kicking things off. Number 2.
2. Planning process group. This is where you plan everything in much more detail, creating the comprehensive roadmap for how the project will be executed, monitored, and eventually closed. You ask all those questions. How big will the community center be? What specific facilities will it have? A main hall, a library, maybe some sports rooms? How much money do we actually need and where will it come from? Who will build it? What's the detailed timeline? This is about creating the detailed blueprint, the project management plan, setting clear objectives, defining the precise course of action required to attain those objectives. You're refining the scope, schedule, cost, quality, resources, risks, communications, everything down to the specifics.
A lot of work in planning.
Absolutely critical work. 3, executing process group. This is where the actual doing happens, where the work defined in the plan is carried out to meet the project specification.
Building the center.
Exactly. Let's start building the community center. We're coordinating people and resources, managing stakeholder engagement, getting materials delivered, hiring construction workers, overseeing the construction work itself, laying the foundation, raising the walls. This is the bulk of the project's effort and budget consumption, where all the plans come to life.
Okay, number 4.
4, monitoring and controlling process group. This group of processes runs throughout the project, often in parallel with executing. It's about keeping a constant eye on things, tracking progress, reviewing performance against the plan, identifying variances, and regulating the project.
Keeping it on track.
Precisely. Asking questions like, is the construction on schedule? Are we staying within budget? Is the quality of the work meeting the standards? Are there any unexpected problems with material delivery or maybe labor disputes? We need to track progress, review performance reports, compare actuals to the plan, and if something goes off track, take corrective or preventive action to bring it back in line. It's the project's navigation system.
And the last one, number 5.
5, closing process group. This is where you formally finalize all activities for the project, phase, or contract.
Finishing up.
Right. The community center is built. Let's conduct the final inspections, hand over the keys to the RWA, get all the final approvals and sign-offs from the local authorities, pay all the outstanding contractor invoices, release the project team members, archive all the project documents, and then most importantly, maybe have a small celebration for completing it. This ensures everything is officially wrapped up, lessons learned are documented, and the project is formally closed.
Initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing.
Got it.
Got it. And these happen throughout the project, maybe repeating in different phases.
Exactly. These 5 process groups are highly interconnected. The output of one often becomes the input for another. For example, the detailed project management plan, a key output of planning, becomes a critical input for guiding the work during executing and for measuring performance during monitoring and controlling. They work together dynamically.
So those are the systematic steps, or process groups. But beyond these steps, our sources also talk about knowledge areas. Are these like different superpowers a project manager needs to master? You used that word before.
That's a great way to put it. Yes, these are 10 identified areas of project management, each representing a specific set of specialized skills, knowledge, tools, techniques, and of course, processes. They are all interconnected but focus on different aspects, providing a comprehensive toolkit or framework for managing any project effectively.
10 of them. Okay, maybe just give us a flavor of a few key ones, using our community center example again.
Sure, let's look at a few crucial superpowers and see how they apply to building that community center. Project scope management. This superpower is all about ensuring the project includes all the work required and, crucially, only the work required to complete the project successfully. It's about defining and controlling clear boundaries.
What's in, what's out?
Exactly. For the community center, does it include a swimming pool or just a main hall and a library? Does it include landscaping around the building? We need to be absolutely clear on what's included in the scope and get agreement so we don't end up building something unnecessary, gold plating, or forgetting something crucial that the residents were expecting. Without this, projects can just keep expanding indefinitely, that scope creep we mentioned. Project cost management. This involves all aspects of planning, estimating, budgeting, financing, funding, managing, and controlling costs so the project can be completed within the approved budget.
Managing the money.
Precisely. How do we stick to the budget for building this center? We need to estimate how much the cement, steel, labor, permits, and everything else will cost. Then we create a detailed budget based on those estimates. And then we need to meticulously track expenses as they happen and compare them to the budget to make sure we don't overspend a single rupee, or if we do, we know why and can manage it. It's about financial discipline, project risk management. This is the superpower of thinking ahead about uncertainties. It involves identifying potential problems or opportunities, analyzing them, how likely are they, what's the impact, and planning responses to them.
What could go wrong?
Right. But usually we focus on the threats first. What if the monsoon rains are unusually heavy this year and delay construction for 2 whole months? What's our backup plan for the schedule? Do we have alternative suppliers lined up in case our primary cement supplier has a strike? It's about identifying potential roadblocks before you hit them and having a plan B or even plan C ready. Project communications management. This superpower ensures timely and appropriate planning, collection, creation, distribution, storage, retrieval, management, monitoring, and ultimate disposition of project information. Basically, getting the right information to the right people at the right time.
Keeping everyone informed.
Exactly. How do we keep all the residents informed about the progress of the community center construction? How do we communicate effectively with the contractors, the RWA committee members, and the local government officials? Do we send out weekly email updates, hold monthly town hall meetings, or maybe put up a clear progress chart on a notice board? Effective communication is vital to keep everyone on the same page, manage expectations, and build trust. Project stakeholder management. This involves identifying everyone who could impact or be impacted by the project, the stakeholders, analyzing their expectations and influence, and developing appropriate strategies to engage with them effectively throughout the project lifecycle.
Who cares about this project?
Pretty much. Who are the key people we absolutely need to talk to, listen to, and get input from? Obviously, the residents who will use the center, but also the builders, the local government officials who give permits, maybe neighbors who are affected by construction noise, potential donors if we're fundraising. How do we understand their needs and concerns? And how do we ensure their positive engagement and manage any negative impacts, making sure they remain supportive, or at least not actively opposing? This is about building relationships and managing expectations across the board.
So scope, cost, risk, communications, stakeholders. It's really like a comprehensive toolkit, isn't it? Ensuring every angle is covered for success right from the very beginning.
Exactly. The 10 knowledge areas work together to cover all the critical aspects. And remember, a good project manager tailors this toolkit. You don't necessarily use every single tool or process from every knowledge area for every single project.
Right, you wouldn't use a sledgehammer to crack a nut.
Perfect analogy. Building a small shed in your backyard needs a different, much simpler set of tools and processes than building a complex skyscraper in Mumbai or launching a satellite. Tailoring is critical because each project is unique. You need to select the most appropriate processes, tools, techniques, and level of rigor for its specific needs, considering factors like its size, scope, complexity, schedule constraints, budget, available resources, quality requirements, and identified risks. It's about smart, adaptive application, not rigid, bureaucratic adherence to every possible rule.
That makes sense. Be smart about it. Now, when we talk about project management, some people might still imagine, piles of dusty paperwork or endless bureaucratic meetings. But our sources emphasize that certain business documents are absolutely crucial, not just formalities. Do they really serve a deeper purpose, or are they just, bureaucracy?
You're touching on a common misconception. And it's a fair one. Sometimes it can feel bureaucratic if not done well. But these core documents are far from just pointless paperwork. When used correctly, they are the heart and soul of why and how a project will succeed.
The heart and soul. How so?
They provide the necessary structure, the justification, the authority, and the guidance that prevent chaos and ensure the project delivers actual value. They are also interdependent, meaning they rely on each other, inform each other, and often evolve together throughout the project's life.
Okay, so what are these crucial documents?
First, we have the project business case. This is essentially the "why are we doing this" document. It's an economic feasibility study, usually done before the project is officially kicked off, that states the objectives and, crucially, the reasons for starting the project. It outlines the business need, analyzes the situation by looking at different options, makes a specific recommendation, and defines how success will ultimately be evaluated. It's absolutely critical for those initial gonna-go decisions.
So it justifies the project's existence.
Exactly. Let's use our community center example again. Before committing significant funds to build that new community center, the Resident Welfare Association, RWA, would ideally create a business case. It would outline things like the business need. Our current community hall is far too small for our growing population of 500 families, and we lack adequate space for children's activities and senior citizen gatherings, leading to dissatisfaction. Analysis of the situation. We looked at 3 options. 1, renovating the old hall, low cost but still too small. 2, renting a temporary space nearby, high ongoing cost, inconvenient. Or 3, building a brand new, larger center on the available plot. We analyzed the costs, potential benefits, more events, rental income potential, and risks, construction delays, funding shortfall for each option. We also identified key stakeholders affected all residents, especially those living near the proposed site who might face construction disruption. Recommendation. Based on our analysis, we strongly recommend building a new, larger center as it best meets our long-term community needs and offers the most significant long-term value and flexibility despite the higher initial investment compared to renovation. Evaluation. We'll measure the success of this investment by tracking metrics like a 30% increase in resident participation in community events within the first year, achieving a 40% utilization rate for external event bookings generating X rupees in revenue, and achieving an 80% positive rating in resident satisfaction surveys about the new facilities.
Wow, that's detailed. It really forces you to think it through.
It absolutely does. This document is your foundational argument, your justification for the entire project. Without a solid business case, you shouldn't really be starting.
So the business case is the convincing argument to even start the journey. Once we decide to go, based on that case, how do we ensure we actually get those benefits we talked about? The increased participation, the rental income, the things that made us start the project in the first place.
That's where the project benefits management plan comes in. If the business case is the why, this plan is the how will we see the value and who will make sure we do. It describes how and when the project's intended benefits will be delivered, and crucially, how they'll be measured and who is responsible for ensuring they materialize. Remember, a project benefit is any outcome that provides value to the organization or community.
Okay, focusing purely on the benefits.
Yes. Key elements here include the target benefits themselves. What specific measurable benefits are we aiming for? Maybe specific financial gains, like increased revenue for that new street vendor app, or intangible values, like improved public image for a community cleanup drive. It outlines the strategic alignment, how well these benefits fit with the overall goals of the RWA or organization. It also specifies the time frame for realizing benefits. Will we see them immediately after the center opens, or will they accrue over 5 years?
Right.
Crucially, it identifies the benefits owner. This is the accountable person or group responsible to monitor, record, and report on these realized benefits after the project is finished, ensuring they actually materialize and don't just get forgotten. And it defines the metrics, the specific measures that will show that the benefits have indeed been achieved.
So someone owns the benefits beyond the project manager.
Often, yes, because benefits frequently accrue long after the project team has disbanded. For our new community center, the benefits management plan might state, target benefits. Achieve a 20% increase in resident participation in community events within the first year of the center's opening, and maintain a 50% utilization rate for external event bookings, generating at least $2 lakhs in net revenue annually after 3 years. Timeframe. Increased resident participation is expected within 6 months of opening. Significant financial returns from external bookings are projected to accrue over 5 years, reaching the target by year 3. Benefits owner. The RWA secretary will be the designated benefits owner responsible for tracking event attendance, booking revenue, and conducting annual surveys. Metrics. Will track attendance records for all community events using sign-in sheets, review the booking calendars and financial statements for external events quarterly, and conduct annual feedback surveys among residents to gauge satisfaction and facility usage.
That plan sounds essential to make sure the project actually delivers what it promised in the business case.
It really bridges the gap from project completion to actual, tangible, long-term value realization.
Okay, business case, benefits management plan.
What else? Next, we have the project charter. This is the formal document issued by the project sponsor, the person or group, providing the resources and authority for the project, maybe the RWA president or the entire committee. It officially authorizes the existence of the project.
The official permission slip.
Exactly. And crucially, it gives the project manager the authority to apply organizational resources like funds or people's time to project activities. Think of it as the official permission letter from the school principal to the head teacher appointed to lead the annual day committee, giving them the formal authority and budget to start planning and executing the annual day function. It's the official go signal for the project manager to start work.
Got it. And the last key document.
Finally, we have the project management plan. This is the big one during the project. It's the comprehensive document that describes how the project will be executed, monitored, controlled, and closed. It's your detailed playbook, your roadmap.
The master plan.
Essentially, yes. It brings together all the individual plans created for the different knowledge areas: the scope management plan, schedule management plan, cost management plan, quality plan, risk plan, communications plan, etc., into one integrated document. It describes the precise approach the team will take to manage every single aspect of the project, serving as the definitive guide for the entire team throughout the project's execution.
So these documents aren't standalone. They're clearly interconnected, like different parts of a complex vehicle working together to ensure the journey is successful.
Precisely. They form a robust, living system, not just static documents filed away. The business case justifies the journey. The benefits plan defines the destination's value. The charter gives the driver the keys. And the project management plan is the detailed GPS route map. The project manager constantly works to ensure all these documents are aligned and remain aligned from the initial business need captured in the business case through the detailed execution plan and focusing on the benefits management plan. This continuous alignment ensures the project stays on course to deliver real, measurable value, not just a completed task that misses the point. It's about integrating purpose with action.
We've covered so much ground, from what and why to the ecosystem and the how, with life cycles, phases, processes, knowledge areas, and key documents. But here's the ultimate question, the one that defined everything. When is a project truly successful? Is it just finishing on time and within budget, or is there more to it?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Historically, yes, you're right. Project success was often very narrowly defined by hitting what we sometimes call the triple constraints: finishing on time, within cost budget, and delivering the agreed scope, plus achieving the required quality.
The iron triangle sometimes.
Exactly, the iron triangle. Did you finish on schedule? Did you stay within budget? Did you deliver everything you promised in the scope document? And was it built to the right quality standards? If yes, project successful.
Seems logical.
It seems logical, but our sources, and certainly modern thinking in the field, emphasize that true success goes much deeper. It's fundamentally about the achievement of the project objectives and the realization of that intended business value we discussed, the value described in the business case.
Back to the value.
Always back to the value. This broader definition is crucial because, think about it, what one person considers success, another might see as a failure. Well, if the project manager delivers that new community center exactly on time and precisely within budget, a technical triumph perhaps, but it turns out no one in the community actually uses it for events because it was designed poorly for their needs, or it doesn't really solve the initial problem of crowded spaces because it's in the wrong location, is it truly a success?
Probably not in the eyes of the residents.
Exactly. Not from a business value or stakeholder perspective. So everyone involved, the project team, the RWA, the residents, other key stakeholders, needs to be on the same page from the beginning about what success really means for this specific project, looking beyond just the immediate deliverables of time, cost, scope, and quality.
It makes so much sense. It needs to actually work for people.
Yeah.
Our sources highlight 3 critical questions the project team and key stakeholders, the people who really care about the project's outcome, need to answer together, preferably early on. What are they?
Yes, these 3 questions are vital for setting clear expectations and truly defining success for any project before you even start executing. They are: 1, what does success look like for this project? And you need to be incredibly specific here. Is success defined as a faster customer service response time, happier, more engaged employees, more profit, a cleaner, greener neighborhood? For our community center, success looks like, perhaps, a vibrant, well-utilized space that fosters genuine community engagement across all age groups, becomes financially self-sustaining through rentals within 3 years, and demonstrably improves residents' sense of community belonging. It's about painting a vivid, shared picture of the desired future state. 2, how will success be measured? What specific, objective metrics will you use to prove that you've achieved that success? Is it sales figures, customer satisfaction scores from surveys, number of active users of a new system, reduced error rates? For the community center, the metrics might be tracking the number and type of community events held per month, the average attendance at those events compared to before, the rental income generated versus operating costs, or maybe scores in an annual resident survey about community spirit. This makes success quantifiable and trackable. 3, what factors may impact success? What internal or external factors, especially risks or assumptions, could derail us from achieving this defined success? Could a sudden change in local government policy regarding building permits affect us? Could new competition arise, maybe a private club opening nearby that offers better facilities? Could a lack of ongoing interest or participation from residents after the initial novelty wears off undermine the community engagement goal? Identifying these potential impacts helps you prepare, build contingency plans, and actively manage them.
So define it, measure it, and anticipate roadblocks.
Exactly. And based on this broader understanding, success criteria now explicitly include factors linked directly to the organization's strategic objectives and the actual delivery of business results. So, in addition to the traditional time, cost, scope, and quality, consider these broader criteria for judging success.
Okay, what else should we look at?
Meeting financial goals. Did the project achieve the expected financial returns outlined in the business case? For example, did that new app for street vendors actually bring in the projected revenue and increase profits for the vendors, making it a genuinely valuable investment for the developers? If it was built on time and budget but didn't generate the expected financial return, its business success is certainly questionable. Meeting non-financial objectives. Did it achieve the intended intangible benefits? Did it improve brand recognition, provide a significant public benefit, increase customer or employee satisfaction? Did that community cleanup drive significantly improve the locality's appearance and boost residents' pride and community spirit, even if it didn't directly generate any money? These non-financial benefits are often just as, or even more important, achieving the desired change. Did the organization successfully transition from the current state to the desired future state as envisioned? Did the school wing project genuinely improve the learning conditions and ultimately contribute to better student performance as intended? Or is it just a nice new building that hasn't changed how teaching happens? Stakeholder satisfaction. Are the key people the project was intended for and those significantly involved or impacted genuinely happy with the outcome and the process? Are the villagers in that rural example actually using the new digital land record system? And do they feel it's making their lives easier by reducing trips to distant government offices, as was the original goal? If they find it too complicated and aren't adopting it, then the project, despite being technically built, isn't truly successful from a user or stakeholder perspective. Integration of deliverables into operations. Is the new product or service actually being used effectively and smoothly integrated into the organization's daily operations? Is the new software being regularly updated and maintained, or is it already gathering digital dust because it doesn't fit well with existing processes? Is the community center being actively managed and marketed for events?
This last point from our sources is a real eye-opener. You mentioned it briefly before, that fascinating paradox. It is possible for a project to be successful from a scope, schedule, budget viewpoint, and to be unsuccessful from a business viewpoint. Can you give us that vivid example again of this scenario where a project could technically succeed, but the business or the outcome fails?
Absolutely. This paradox perfectly illustrates why defining success more broadly and always linking back to the bigger picture, the strategy, and the actual need is so vital. Imagine a company that back in the early 2000s, embarked on a project to build the most advanced, state-of-the-art DVD rental store chain across major cities in India.
Okay, I remember those stores.
Right. And let's say they executed the project brilliantly. They completed it perfectly on time, within budget, with fantastic quality stores, sparkling clean interiors, computerized inventory systems, well-trained staff, great selection, everything. They met all their initial project objectives flawlessly. From a traditional project management perspective, time, cost, scope, quality, it was a textbook success. Every single box was ticked.
Sounds like a win.
From a project execution standpoint, it was. However, by the time the stores were fully operational and launched across the country, the market had shifted entirely and dramatically under their feet.
Streaming.
Exactly. Online streaming services, like maybe early versions of Hotstar or international players entering the market, along with widespread piracy, were rapidly gaining traction, making physical DVD rentals increasingly obsolete. People simply stopped going to stores to rent movies. They could watch them instantly online or get cheap pirated copies easily.
Yeah, the whole model died quickly.
Very quickly. So while the project to build the DVD stores was a technical success, they built exactly what they intended to build, efficiently and to high quality. The business venture itself was a profound failure. Why? Because the need they were addressing, the customer behavior they relied on, no longer existed in the market. The value the project was designed to create had completely evaporated due to external market changes that perhaps they didn't foresee or react to quickly enough. This truly underscores the critical importance of constant business alignment and keeping an eye on the external environment, not just focusing internally on project metrics like schedule and budget. You need to ensure you're always building the right thing for the current and future market, not just building the thing right according to an outdated plan.
That's a powerful lesson.
Yeah.
Success isn't just about the project. It's about the outcome in the real world.
Precisely. It's about delivering lasting value.
Wow, what a deep dive this has been. We've journeyed all the way from defining what a project truly is, that temporary, unique endeavor, something we see in everything from the majestic Taj Mahal to our own school's annual day function.
Projects are everywhere.
To understanding why projects even begin, driven by real needs and opportunities like new government regulations, specific stakeholder requests, strategic business shifts, or just the desire to improve things.
Those 4 key drivers.
We explored the critical importance of project management itself, seeing how it truly transforms potential chaos into clarity, preventing costly mistakes like missed deadlines and massive cost overruns, and maximizing benefits like increased predictability and stakeholder satisfaction.
It's the superpowers of getting things done right.
We zoomed out to see the bigger ecosystem of programs and portfolios, realizing that every effort, big or small, ideally fits into a grand strategic vision, whether it's building a new airport as part of a national infrastructure program or managing a diverse conglomerate's entire investment strategy through a portfolio.
Connecting the dots.
And we wrapped up by looking at the essential building blocks, the life cycles, predictive, adaptive, hybrid that guide the journey, the distinct phases like chapters in a book, the systematic processes grouped into those 5 key areas from initiating to closing, and those superpower knowledge areas like scope, cost, and risk that guide the actual work, along with the crucial documents like the business case and benefits management plan that formalize the intent and help measure true success.
We covered a lot of ground.
We really did.
You know, the most valuable knowledge is the knowledge you can actually use. You, our listener, now have a powerful framework to understand the planned efforts that shape our world, from the biggest infrastructure projects you read about to the smallest community initiatives you might participate in.
So how can people apply this?
Well, next time you see a new flyover being constructed in your city, disrupting traffic but promising smoother commutes, or you hear about a new digital initiative being launched by your local municipality, or even when you participate in organizing a family function like a big wedding or even just a large birthday party, take a moment to ask yourself, okay, what was the project behind this? What were its real objectives? What factors probably made that project a success? Or perhaps what lessons could be learned if it faced challenges or didn't quite deliver?
Thinking like a project manager, even in daily life.
Exactly. This isn't just about managing huge corporate endeavors with Gantt charts and complex software, though it's certainly crucial there. It's fundamentally a way of thinking, a structured approach that helps you bring order, clarity, and purpose to any goal you set for yourself or your team. Start applying these principles, defining your goal clearly, scope, thinking about why it's valuable, business case, planning the steps, processes, anticipating problems, risks, keeping people informed communications in your own life. Whether it's planning your studies for the next exam, organizing a neighborhood cleanup drive, or starting a small hobby project, you'll undoubtedly see the difference in how you approach challenges, manage your time and resources, and ultimately achieve your objectives more effectively. It's a life skill, really.
That's a fantastic closing thought. It's a way of thinking, not just a job title. We hope this deep dive has given you, our listener, a fresh perspective and armed you with some valuable insights into the world of project management. Keep learning, keep exploring the projects happening all around you, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.